Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And I have joining me today, welcoming to YouTube Live, I have Sabel here with me. Hi Sabel, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great to have you here with me. Well, Sable, let me begin. I thought we had a little bit of a feedback a while ago, but let me begin with, having you introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them what you are running for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sabel Harris, and I am running for Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner for 1B12, which is the U Street corridor and around 14th. So, a very kind of popular area in DC. I like to refer to it as kind of the heart or almost pulse of Washington, DC.
I love that. I love that. Tell me, what made you want to run this year?
Yeah, so I really, one, I love the neighborhood. I've lived here for 6 years, but I often found myself kind of always wondering, well, what's going on? Like, what is being built? What activities are happening? What, why is there some gun violence that has like increased? And it really kind of fueled the reason why I'm running, which is
Hmm.
provide those better connection points to kind of the community. And really, I met the current commissioner, Dan Winston, a couple years ago,
Hmm.
and I really enjoyed hearing about kind of his background. And he works for kind of a tech startup, which is very
Yeah.
similar to my background. And I thought, oh, wow, that's really interesting seeing a bridge from kind of the private sector to the
Mm.
public sector,
Yes.
especially in the technology space. So fast forward to, about 6 months ago when, I had those same questions of, hey, what is happening in my neighborhood? Oh, I wonder if I can run for advisory neighborhood commissioner. Dan ran and he won, and, I think he's doing a pretty good job, but maybe I can do something better with my own marketing skill set. I work in marketing, by the way, to better connect my neighborhood to what's happening and really figure out, what are those data points? What are the, even other relationships that we can better the neighborhood and understand what are the long-term enduring solutions that we can put in place.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, tell me about some of these. Tell me about two of the biggest issues, you really would like to tackle if elected to the board.
Yeah, so one issue that I don't think I can tackle by myself is really there are a lot of people experiencing homelessness in my neighborhood. And I think it's just been a long-term issue in DC, whether and I don't think there's one solution or one problem that it stems from. So there's issues with affordable housing. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who work here and people who have moved out of 14th and U, and they've all said a similar thing in that it's too expensive to live here. And, that's one problem. That's a huge barrier for people experiencing homelessness. Another problem is, access to basic health kind of needs. One being, there's not public restrooms in kind of this U Street area. And, people who are experiencing homelessness need access to that. So that is something, I'd love to bring so the public restroom initiative that the DC Council passed. I would love to bring one of those here to, the U Street area to help with that as well too. And then the last part to that, and there are so many other kind of prongs that come out of people experiencing homelessness, is kind of access to healthcare, especially mental health care. So I think, a lot of times when I've talked with neighbors and they see someone, frequently in my building, I live in the Langston Lofts above Busboys and Poets. There have been a few individuals staying underneath our carport, and oftentimes my neighbors have been like, "Oh, I'm going to call the police." And I'm like, that's not the best like resource. One, we shouldn't do that anymore. We should get out of the bad habit of relying on MPD for everything. Two, like they're not equipped to handle people who are experiencing, hardship with their mental health. So, what are the other resources? How can I very quickly, on day one, if elected, gather and curate those resources so a neighbor can call, the shelter hotline, they can call the community response team, they can call, you know, Department of Health and Human Services. And all of that is there, just people don't know that it's there and they don't have access to that. So I'm hoping with some of those things, we can begin to lay the groundwork in
Yeah.
helping to solve, and helping to find people the homes, helping to find them jobs. So I think that's one issue. Another one that I'm actually excited about is, trying to reimagine the spaces that we have. So particularly the alleyways like in U Street. So one, when I'm a little biased in this too, in that my unit faces an alleyway, and it's littered with garbage, with illegal dumping, with everything that, it doesn't make it a nice place to be. No one wants to hang out back there. And I think with the pandemic, street cleaning has been paused or delayed. So, I think even though the pandemic has brought on a ton of unfortunate circumstances, we really need to look at, the spaces that we have and figure out, okay, how do we use this in a new way? How can we, open up some, you know, seating area for people to sit and enjoy. I was talking with Steve, who owns U Street Wine and Beer, and he was like, I would love to have, seating area out there to do some type of wine tasting, but I can't because it's cluttered with a lot of trash. And the same thing with other alleyways of, can we do some type of, revamp with murals like No Kings Collective did with the Walter Whitman Clinic. So I think, even though this time has been so hard and so terrible, I think we can, those of us who are privileged, who have the capacity, can look at these areas and figure out what else can we do and how can we make our community better.
Ah, I love that. I love that. That's so wonderful. Tell me, it's been a really, really rough year, as one can say, one can tell. How have you had to like adapt this campaign, having to run during this pandemic? How has that been for you?
Yeah, well, this is my first time running. So my adapting is pretty much from ground zero, so starting fresh. But one thing that is really important to me is really thinking about inclusivity. So, I am a marketer and I'm a digital marketer, so I understand how to use digital channels like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of these. This is what I do day to day. So I
Yeah.
love connecting with people on those different platforms. But the other side is that it does forget about the people who are kind of left in the digital divide, who aren't connected to, Wi-Fi. They might not be on Twitter. They might not be on Facebook. They might not have the devices to connect. So as much as I'm thinking about like how to connect with people online, whether it's through video or it's through kind of, social media, I'm also thinking about the other end. So in U Street, in 1B12, we have the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Association apartments, which house a lot of seniors. I would imagine not very many of them are on Twitter. They're not, looking at different kind of publications and things. I would love it if they saw this interview, but I've thought about ways on how can I reach out to them because I can't go there in person.
Yeah,
I can't be like, hey, let me knock on all these doors. No one would probably let me in.
that's
So
true.
I've actually sending out postcards. I've handwritten postcards to all of the registered voters there. I actually have some right next to me. I have about 7 more to finish, which it's definitely been a tedious task because I am very thankful for autocorrect on my phone, but you can't have that with handwritten cards. So it has taken me a while to get those out, but I did actually receive an email from someone who lives at the Dunbar kind of apartments, and that made my week. I think that made my campaign of saying, okay, you know what? At least someone got my letter and got my postcard, because I wanted to let them know that, like, I'm here for them too. I'm here to represent them, and let me make sure that my campaign is as inclusive as possible with the limits of the pandemic, but while telling people, hey, I'm here for you. I'm sorry that we can't meet physically, but like, I'm here. Please, reach out. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address.
And
I
that's so
want,
important. That's so
yes.
important. Tell our viewers as well, if they want to support your campaign, if they want to keep up with you and follow you, how can they go about doing that?
Well, like I said, I'm a marketer, so I'm on all the channels, but my website is sabel4dc.com. So that's SAB as in boy, EL, FORDC.com. And then all of my social media handles are at Sabel Harris. So SAB as in boy, ELHARRIS on Twitter, on Instagram. And then you can go on my website to get to me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I am very easy to get a hold of. And I told you all where I live too. So that is on all my campaign side. So
Well, I was thinking about that a little bit. I will say that because you did. So,
I did.
yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, Sable. It has been such a pleasure having you here today. Thanks so much. And I do
Thank you
want to
so much for
say,
having me.
of course, definitely. And I do want to say that today is the final day to register to vote in
It
DC. And
is.
yes, it is. And so if DC voters don't register today, you are also able to register when early voting opens October 7th to November 2nd, as well as there is same day registration on election day. But do note that today is the final day to register. Thanks so
It
much once
is.
again, Sable, for joining
Thank
me.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. And you can find all of Sable's information in our description below. Thank you, everyone. To our viewers, thanks for watching. Bye.